Okay, guys, hey, how are we all going? I hope you're doing fabulous on this Monday. Doesn't feel like a Monday, but it's Monday, so happy Monday. Or if you're on the other side of the world, it's not Monday yet, or it might be close. Anyway, so today I'm going to talk about getting unstuck. So if you are feeling stuck in your life, then I'm going to give you some really handy little pointers to help you get unstuck. So a bit of context. This is kind of the guts of what I help people with, is you're feeling really stuck in your life. And it's interesting because yesterday I had 2 conversations with friends about this. One likened it to being stuck in a washing machine and spinning around and around and not knowing which way was up. The other one likened it to being locked in a barrel and not being able to find your way out. Mine was like being stuck in a box. And so it is really debilitating. It's kind of like you're in this prison and you don't know which way is up, you don't know your way out, and it just feels really overwhelming. And so I'm going to help you guys get out of this bloody box or barrel or washing machine or whatever you want to call it, because I get it. I know how debilitating it is. It creates depression, anxiety. We're not ourselves. We're not our fresh, happy, confident selves. We're a shell, basically. And this can happen for any number of reasons, right? It could be, work related. You're in business and you're struggling in your business. It could be, family. You've come out of a breakup. And so there's kind of this, you kind of get spat out the other end of life, particularly around the 40s. And you don't know what to do next. Because when we're younger, we kind of mentally have shit mapped out in our heads. And now we're not in that map anymore. We're kind of in the middle of maps, so to speak. And so you end up in this abyss. And what happens is that mentally, we literally go dumb because we're stuck in this state of anxiety. Like we're literally just, our brain does not function, will not function. Now, there is a physical element, and I will talk about that in a second. But obviously, I'm not a qualified doctor or nutritionist or anything like that. So any advice I give, well, I don't want to give advice. Any suggestions that I make, then by all means go and see a professional for those, because they are key. And all of my training, everything I do with my clients is holistic, because we need to cover all bases. Because I've been to psychologists before and then realized that the issue I was having, while it was a mental issue, but there was also that chemical element as well, and I just started supplementing. And so 2 years ago, I was lying on the lounge. I was eating those big tubs of, and it's still delicious, I must say, but connoisseur chocolate brownie custard ice cream. I was not feeling good in myself at all. I felt so lost. And through my 40s, I've had these periods of time where I kind of have a high and everything's fine, and then I dip into a low again and I don't know what to do with myself. Thankfully, I'm out of that. Thankfully, I've got the tools. But, I still get a little bit of anxiety every now and then. I had it just this morning. But the tools that I'm going to teach you in this, I'm able to quash it and stop it from flaring up so that it's consuming me. And your lack of motivation and feeling stuck can come from different things. Only you know what that is. I can only make assumptions. And what I'm going to teach you in this is based on my experience and also just working with clients, and also, people that I've spoken to, in particular those 2 friends yesterday that have had the same thing. So, first of all, you are not alone. If you are feeling lost, feeling stuck, lonely, struggling with anxiety, not knowing which way is up in your life, this, I think, I haven't gone around and asked everybody, but this, I feel, is a normal thing. Sadly, a lot of people, and I don't want to go too dark. I like my stuff to be positive, but we got to kind of go there so that we can go there, okay? But this is why the suicide rate is so high, because people end up in this space and they think that the world is caving in. And so if you're feeling like you're struggling, maybe not with that. If you are, please go and get the help that you need. But you need to know that it gets better. It might not feel that way, but it does, okay? And so I'm going to give you some tools to fast track that. You can also work with me. I'm really careful. Like if you are struggling really badly with depression, really badly with anxiety, I am not, I'm qualified to do that, but that's not my specialty. And so I'll always recommend someone go and see someone like a psychologist or psychiatrist, okay? So I stay in my lane because I think that's really important. So let's get into it. Now, the number one thing, the title was, I don't know, right? Where is it? Glasses on so I can see. Okay. Is a simple truth you're missing that's causing you to feel this way. This broke my brain in a good way. Okay. This is something that really just understanding what the issue was at the guts of it, was enough for me to just go, okay, cool. Now I've got something to work with. So I'm just going to read something out. Overwhelm creates anxiety, and anxiety, which in turn then, anxiety creates paralysis. So have a look at that. Now, it might not be that, all right? I've got to stay kind of on one track, but it might not be that. If that's not you, that's okay. I am going to cover other bases, but that was one thing that really helped me a lot, was just feeling so overwhelmed, and that created so much anxiety. And then that's it. That's fight flight, right? When we're in fight flight, we literally go dumb. We don't know what to do. It's like everything's in front of us. All the resources we need are in front of us, but we're so freaking overwhelmed. And then of course we're stuck in this paralysis and we can't move forward. I was watching an Alex Hormozy video the other day, and he articulated it really well. He's like, with anxiety, there's too many options. With depression, there's no options. And so when you're in that no option space, and when you're in that two option space, there's actually benefit there, because you're at a set point and you go, okay, that's why I'm feeling bad. All right. Now, again, medical diagnoses and all of that aside. So again, just want to be careful with that. All right. But generalized depression, generalized, the emotion rather than the way of being. Okay. Now, the way of being can come from so much of that emotion. So if you're like in that anxiety so much, then it becomes a way of being. Same with depression, it becomes a way of being. As I said, just kind of trying to dice it here so no one comes at me, but can be a chemical/physical element. I'm not qualified to talk about that. I can only talk about the psychology, okay? So speak to your doc. But anyway, have a look at what's going on there. Is it, maybe you're in a job that you are so freaking sick of and so stuck in, and so you've entertained the idea of starting your own business. But that's created more overwhelm, more anxiety, and more paralysis. And so you're stuck in this job and you're just going through the motions day in, day out. It's sucking the life out of you. But the whole starting your own business thing, that feels overwhelming and scary. And so you end up stuck in this abyss. And the abyss is, again, like the barrel, like the box, like the washing machine. The abyss, and that's what it is. It's basically you're in an abyss. And you're going through this change. So it is positive, okay? You can quite quickly shift over with some practice, with daily practice, hypnosis. Of course, I'm going to throw that in there, and other daily activities that you can do to move yourself out of that. But ultimately, the belief that we're stuck keeps us stuck. And the belief that we lack motivation keeps us there. So any kind of negative focus on our state and situation will keep us in there. And this is a cautionary tale for you guys, is that, for a bunch of years, like I spent, it was business for me at that time. I was really stuck, but it was also, I was early 40s. I had nothing. I had no one. I couldn't have kids. But I had to call off a wedding due to unforeseen circumstances. And so I went traveling to Mexico, Costa Rica and that, came home and just crashed and burned. Reality caught up with me. And I was drinking, eating heaps, making myself feel worse by trying to give myself the quick fix things to make myself feel better. But as we know, long term, it doesn't fly, right? It doesn't make you feel good. But I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, and so instead of kind of going, who do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And focusing on the positive, I was focusing on, how do I feel right now? I feel sad. I feel tired. I feel this, I feel that. And I was constantly, I threw my journals out because they made me cringe so much, because it was just me constantly complaining about how hard my life was, how bad I felt. I was psychoanalyzing every fucking brain cell in my head to try and figure out why I was the way I was. And this will make you worse. Focusing on this, when I studied counseling, it was, mainly for me, for the qualification and that experience, right? I don't really, I mean, I use counseling techniques, but as being myself, calling myself a counselor, I don't like talk therapy because I know that there's faster ways. And talk therapy, what do you do when you go into talk therapy? You go in and you talk about the problem. And the counselor might direct you into a solution, but then you come back next week and then you talk about the problem again or another problem. And so it's on and on and on and on it goes. Now, not to say there's some amazing therapists out there that will shift you fast, get you the result, make you feel better, and off you go with your life, okay? With talk therapy. But in a lot of cases, they're inviting you, and it's set up that way. It's anchored in where you come in and you talk about your problems. And I do get clients who come to me thinking that that's what it's going to be and the session's going to be, and I have to kind of direct them and go, oh no, we're here to do hypnosis. We're here to fix this problem. We're not going to sit here and navel gaze it. That's what you're doing, and that's why you feel bad in the first place. No, we're gonna look at that. Okay, so we do have to acknowledge, okay, this is the problem. Get clarified what it is. Okay, what's the solution? And then we get really clear about the solution, and then in hypnosis, I move you from here where you don't feel so good into here where you are feeling good. And so that moves me on to the 5 things you must do to help yourself feel better and get unstuck. So number 1, nothing to do with me, but everything to do with you and your doctor, is go and get your health checks done. Something that was big for me was vitamin B deficiency. Again, like, I'm not making recommendations or suggestions. I'm saying this is what I did that's worked for me. Whatever you do is up to you, okay? That's my disclaimer. Vitamin B. I take NMN, which is, it heals your mitochondria. It's an anti-aging supplement. I take iron, magnesium, and there was something else. No, actually it was iron. So those supplements I need, and I find myself, if I don't take them, the anxiety and also the depression starts to sneak back in again. So I am prone to depression. And having those supplements there helped me see, okay, so if I just take these supplements, then that doesn't come back. Okay. And I found this out because I lapsed on taking my sups when I was, moving into here and setting up house, and everything, all health and everything fell out the window, right? And so I kind of started to feel really depressed, and I was like, why do I feel depressed? Like, I've just moved into this amazing place. I'm feeling, life's good. Like, what is it? And then I realized, it was that. So go and get your health checks. In Australia, they call it a RAST test, R-A-S-T, and that is intolerances, deficiencies, allergies. Also get your cancer markers, get it all done. All right. So that gives you a set point, and okay, it's not my thyroid making me crazy like this, or, hormones or whatever. And that will help you in that regard. So go see your doc, do your research, get your stuff done. Okay, the next one, a little bit more closer to my zone of genius, is to organize your life. Now, another big one that was screwing me up was my brain was so disorganized, and therefore my life, but the discipline. Because I work for myself, I have to have that discipline. If I don't have the discipline, forget it, right? And so I needed to actually pull the bow back and take time, and I've done that quite a few times with business in particular, where I'm going like, I don't know what I'm doing. What's the next thing I do? Even though like I kind of do, but that self-talk keeps you in that belief that you don't know what you're doing, even though you do. But what I realized was that it was because I didn't have strategies. I didn't have a plan. It wasn't clear. So you can relate this to exercise, for example. You might not have a plan. You might be like, I've got to exercise. I have to exercise. So every single morning you wake up and you're like, I've got to go and exercise. I've got to go do this and whatever. But maybe there is some procrastination on it because you're not really clear on the how and the why and the what. You haven't broken down the process. Now, we know you just get dressed and you go out and you run down the block if you want to run. But for some people, there needs to be like this broken down step by step to get there so that you can change the way you think about it. And that then becomes like a little project. It becomes fun. It becomes much easier in your mind because you've made it into little digestible bite-sized pieces. So for example, when you wake up in the morning, the shoes are there, and then you walk out of your house, but you're mindful and you're like, right. So running, like something that I do, I don't run anymore because I've got a gammy knee, but I like walking on the soft sand. It's my favorite thing. But is thinking it like focusing on your gait, focusing on your feet. And it becomes this thing where you're actually in your mind, instead of going, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, now you are like making the tracks, making the pattern happen, if that makes sense. That didn't really make sense. If you think of how you are running, think about your posture, you're paying attention to your posture, paying attention to the speed, and now you're really focused on that activity. And so that kind of takes away the got to go for a run. Maybe you need to set it for, I'm going to go for a run for 10 minutes, and you just do it in bite-sized pieces so that you don't trip your brain into that fight-flight thing again. Next one, self-talk. So look, it's a bit trite, but we don't realize how much it stuffs us up. And so the negative things you say to yourself weaken your body. That you lose motivation. When you go, oh, got to go for a run, like, of course, you're not going to go for a run. Like, I know that when I've done that and you're running and it just feels like hard work. So you're creating this physical reaction with your thoughts. And so when you're like, I love running, and you might not believe that at first, that happens, but you start sort of saying, or just say it in a way that feels right to you. I enjoy a little bit of a run. And you just kind of play it down and trivialize, oh, I don't mind a bit of a running around. And the way that you change the language, then it becomes a pleasant experience. Then that brings me on to the next, and also actually I just want to add to that, like looking in the mirror. And I think I've said this before. I mean, I say kind of the same things, but in different ways. Looking in the mirror, instead of going, I hate my body, going, wonder what exercises will make that look better. And you start getting more curious about it, and you get more like, yeah, and I wonder what would happen if I did butt lifts. Like, hate my thighs. All right, no, I'm going to stop saying that. I'm going to say, what can I do to improve my thighs? What can I do to improve my shoulders? What can I do to improve my relationship? What can I do? So instead of, I hate my partner, or my partner drives me crazy, probably wouldn't say you hate him, or her, but you would say, how can I make this better? What can I do? So instead of seeing problems, you see possibilities. It's really, really important, that one. And then that now becomes this constructive process of building on those positive things. Because it's like, say you've got a bucket and there's all these holes in the bucket. Now, you want to fix the bucket, but you're focusing on the holes. Whereas if you focused on filling and you're looking at, oh my God, all these holes in the bucket. What am I going to do? I can't do anything. There's just holes all in the bucket. And over here you're going, wonder what I can use to fill up the holes in the bucket. So you switch into solution-focused mindset as opposed to problem-focused. It keeps you dark. It keeps you depressed. It keeps you riddled with anxiety. And so this was difficult for me. I ain't going to lie. Like, it was very, very difficult. I didn't so much use hypnosis. This was kind of a bigger process of all different elements, which is what I'm sharing. But I really struggled. Like, for years and years and years, I'd be like, right, I know I've got to focus on who I want to be and how I want to feel. And I just could not move myself, like, because I was so stuck on the problem and obsessed with it. And it makes us sick. Literally makes us sick in all sorts of ways. Stress, anxiety, we drink through it, we eat through it. So, those feelings, while they're there, you kind of go, okay, I see you there, and I'm going to share with you the next one in a second, which is going to help you shift from here to here. So I will go straight to that, and that is talking to your emotions. So as I said before, I had a little bit of anxiety this morning, a bit of overwhelm, a little bit of paralysis. And I was like, nope, we know what to do. So I went, hey, anxiety, how you going? Oh, I'm not too good, right? So anxiety, oh, I'm just feeling really, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to help. And I'm like, I understand. I know you're trying to help. So I actually had a conversation with anxiety. Anxiety, as if anxiety was this other little being in my head. And you can do this, like I do it with clients with a chair, because it gives them that, it's called the empty chair technique. It's a Gestalt technique. And it's kind of parts integration as well. So they're two combined techniques really. But, and in the, like you talk to the emotion. So anxiety, I calmed anxiety down, and I was able to feel my body and the muscles in my gut release. And then I went, hey, overwhelm, what's going on? Oh my God, I'm running around because you've got to do so many things and I've got to do all this and all that. So you're giving them personalities, like overwhelmed personality, just like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And you are talking to overwhelm. And you're like, that's okay. And you're the kind anchor. You're the patient, kind, loving anchor that's talking to this emotion and just calming it down and going, it's okay. Like, you're all right, as if it's a little kid. Like you'd reassure your 5-year-old, for example, or your dog who's scared of fireworks or storms, and you kind of, it's okay, it's all right. And you develop this loving relationship with all of your emotions. So this is called parts integration, all right? I won't go too much into that, but basically that's what it is. So what you're doing is you're acknowledging these parts of yourself. Like if you're prone to anger and you get really angry and you are frustrated and angry at your anger because you know that you don't want to feel that way, but it's just such a quick reflex. You start talking to your anger. You're like, hey, anger, and you're pleasant, okay? You're pleasant and you're like, hey, anger, how you going? Oh, you know, I'm just annoyed because that man annoyed me and I just want to thump him, for example. And you know, you're like, okay, yeah, I can understand that. It's, you know, sometimes it does get a bit frustrating and you're wanting to get somewhere. Say you're in the car, for example, someone's cut you off. Been there. I've talked to my anger a lot in the car. But you're pleasant and you're loving and you're like, okay, well, what happened? Oh, well, this man just cut me off and I'm late and I need to get to somewhere. Okay. And then impatience might come in. Hey, impatience, like just start with one first, okay? So you don't want to overwhelm yourself and get all weird. You can also do this on paper. So you can just, you know, have a journal and just write to it. Hi, anger, how you going? And then anger will write back, oh, this man cut me off. Oh, okay, yeah, I can imagine that. And so you're giving empathy to your emotions, because our biggest problem with our emotions is that we don't validate them. That's all they want. It's like a 5-year-old throwing mud at the wall even though you've told it to stop. And you're like, stop throwing mud at the wall, okay? This kid's going, fuck you, mum. And he's throwing mud at the wall and he just keeps doing it, and then you get more frustrated. With your emotions, think of it like that. The emotion is, it just wants your attention, right? It doesn't matter what it is, bad or good, it just wants attention. But when you're negative towards that emotion, you keep feeding that behavior, right? So think about that little 5-year-old throwing shit at the wall, shit, mud, whatever. And he's getting a reaction from mum. And he thrives on that because, let's say, he's not getting any attention or love any other time. And so that's his way that he's learned to cope with that or to get that need met. And so your emotions are doing the exact same thing because they're your inner child. That's your inner child who learn how to cope in certain ways that aren't helping you now and aren't doing you any favors now. And you're berating them and you're yelling at them and telling yourself, and saying all these nasty things to yourself / your emotions, and it's making you feel, again, worse. And so you sink yourself into a deeper hole and feel more and more stuck. And on and on and on and on it goes. So when you have these pleasant, loving conversations with them, they lose their power. They become more useful. So you can, overwhelm. I gave overwhelm another job today. And I gave anxiety another job today. I just went, I've got another little job for you, anxiety. I can't remember what it was now. But then off it went. It just went away. And then overwhelm, can't remember what job I gave it either. But I'm going to give you a little job. How about you just go and relax? Oh no, overwhelm. Just go and relax for now. That's all you have to do today. You can just go and relax. You're good. And this is how you get control of your emotions. By having a nice, sweet, loving relationship and accepting all of them with love. I mean, this is the same for people, right? Is when you're kind of pleasant and light, then it's just easier to fix relationships and whatnot. All right, so the next one is little actions. Just doing little actions. Get clear about what you want. Get clear about who you want to be. And then have a daily checklist of mine's as long as my arm. That's why I get anxiety sometimes, because it is very long, but necessary. Yours doesn't have to be this long, but I've got it from when I wake up, when I take the dog to the dog park, I've got the gym. So I'm ticking off, these are obvious things, but I tick them off so that I can go, right, well, what didn't I do today? That's all right. Okay, cool. So I need to focus on that tomorrow. And that brings me to something else, actually. It's not on the list, but it was a really good aha moment. So I was talking to a client the other day who's doing weight loss, and I said, you know, what have you done? Have you done this? Not really. Have you done that? No. And what about that? No. And then it was like, hang on. Okay. So what this is doing is triggering shame. All right. So she's already feeling shame for not, I shouldn't have said they were already feeling shame because of that. So the last thing you want to do is go, well, yeah, like, come on. And so I recognized that shift for myself as well, where I was like, well, don't worry, that's fine. What did you do? Did you walk to the letterbox? Yes. Did you cook dinner for yourself every night? Yes. Did you, I don't know, walk to the car? Yes. And so what happens is that you start stacking on the positive behaviors. It might because you're so focused on the negative behaviors that you're doing and the berating of yourself, that when you like in this constant focus on, I didn't exercise, I didn't eat right, I ate that cake, I drank a bottle of wine, I yelled at my kid, I'm a bad person. So think about how mottled your insides are, or like all of us, right? I reckon, like, I've got cellulite on my thighs, and I honestly believe that it is bad because of the way I've spoken to my thighs for so many years. Anyway, I don't have scientific evidence for that, but, you know. So yeah, and you speak to yourself like that constantly, and it just creates bad feelings and more bad feelings and more bad situations and more bad results and blah, blah, blah. Whereas when you go, okay, and maybe have a journal, but go and buy yourself a notebook if you haven't got one, and just write and go, what did I do today? Well, I did this, I did that, good things. I ate this cake and I enjoyed it. That's all right, because you consciously know that you can't live on cake, right? It's just you ate a cake and you enjoyed it, so just let it go, right? Just move on. And so when you start stacking on the good things that you did, guess what? You feel better. You feel more confident. It's all about perspective. Like, that's all it is. All you're doing is shifting your perspective to, or shifting that way. So going from here, your perspective is all dark, unhappy, I'm hating life, I feel stuck. And now you're just doing these little actions every day to shift your perspective. So now you're focusing on the good stuff. And it feels good. It's like, oh my God, like my boss gave me a compliment today. And so all those little good things create good feelings and create motivation. They create clarity. They create creativity. They create better relationships. They create you wanting to eat healthy. Okay? That's where you need to go. And you know what? Won't happen overnight, but it will happen. And so hypnosis fast tracks that. Okay? But I always say hypnosis is a process. Like, you know, people come in, I want to be zapped. You can quit smoking in a session, by the way. So yes, you can be zapped, so to speak, but for a holistic experience, then you want to kind of do the manual stuff as well, and the hypnosis helps that along. Hypnosis makes it happen faster, but all the other activities matter as well. And that's what I say to my clients is that, like, yeah, you can come in, you get the hypnosis, and then there's the other outside work, like listening to the recordings, writing in your journal, and doing those things, and that's going to help. Because when you help yourself, then you're gonna do better. So that's it for today. Now, if you'd like to work with me to fast track that, I will help you. So we will do hypnosis. I'll show you how to journal. We just look at, you know, whether you need 1 session, 3 sessions, 5 sessions. I've got the more sessions you get, the cheaper they become. And yeah, let's move you out of that crap, out of the shitsville, and into Pleasantville. So that's it, guys, and I will talk to you very soon. Have a good one.